Mueller is not quite ready to talk about Captain America 4.
Just can do we'll build up to whatever you want.
I'll give you something easy to talk about first, right? Because it did make me chuckle. So apparently, Disney, possibly the most progressive company in Hollywood, they are abandoning one of their major DEI programs. The Reimagine Tomorrow program is officially cancelled by them, and they are walking back a lot of the stuff that they've tried to institute with it, which kind of is an interesting sign of the times changing, particularly for a company like Disney. I wouldn't have expected this, but I think it's a kind of a recognition that, the culture around them has kind of shifted and people are not up for that sort of thing. I don't know if they're worried as well about getting sued on this. I think various companies had actually taken discrimination lawsuits against them for that very basis. But it is gone now. I don't think many people are going to be shedding a tear over the loss of it, to be honest with you.
No, but I'm worried about the fact that is it really going to be gone, or is it the fact that they're just pulling it back for a little while so they can rebrand it? Because you've had over the last 7 days, you've had anchors from ABC, NBC, MSNBC, and CNN stating like, diversity is one thing that helped kill the election for us, in not only for politics, but in Hollywood. So they're like, we have to come up with new terms in order to continue the same programs. And they're like, start looking out for patriotic pluralism. That's the new expression.
Yeah.
Diversity, equity, and equality.
That was like Chris Hayes. Hayes said that on Bill Maher. It was such bullshit.
I know.
Such bullshit.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Pluralism, or they're like populist pluralism.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it kind of echoes what I think it was Kevin Feige said when he was confronted by a lot of this stuff within the MCU. And he said that it was like this admission of we tried to push this messaging too overtly and too loud. We need to find ways to be more subtle about it. And it's like, okay, you're just doing the same thing that you did before. You're just going to like bury it just a little bit deeper and not make it quite so overt, but you haven't changed your outlook. And yeah, it's interesting. Maybe that is what they're going to end up doing here. I don't know. I mean, it's always going to be reflected in the movies at the end of the day. Whatever their policies might be behind the scenes, you're going to know what you see on screen in terms of their creative output.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it. I mean, I haven't seen Captain Checkbox, but and I know we're not talking about it yet, but just the 90-pound girl in it, like we were saying backstage, that kind of like tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
But Disney's the same thing. I mean, are they really going to change, or is it just going to be kind of like a makeover for a little bit? Like, let's just hold out for the next 4 years. I hope it's done.
Unless they doge Disney, it's not going to change. The culture is the people there, and a lot of people there are very loud and very activist. I don't see it changing. Like you said, George, I see it rebranding as populism, whatever you want to call it. It's just not going to be DEI. All that stuff is going away in name only. I believe those programs will continue. And unless you gut a company like Disney, it's not going away. So, but there are people that will push back against it. I think Gary and I both talked about Kevin Feige kind of pushing back against it within Marvel. And he was absent at the premiere of Captain America, not to get ahead of the game. So I don't know. We'll see. I just think it'll rebrand, but not go away. It'll be like a cockroach.
Do you really think because see, a part of me, I'm going to play devil's advocate. A part of me feels like it is going away. And a part of me is like, they are going to rebrand because we just said, but how long can a studio like Disney, right, which has been spearheading DEI, how long can it continue going with flop after flop? I mean,
to be fair, last year they did very well.
No, I'm talking about emotionally. I'm talking about on an ego level, just on a base human level, like the way that they're ridiculed and the way they become a cultural joke for many of their Marvel movies.
Right. I don't know. We're going to see in the next year. I mean, I fully expect Captain America to flop. So
do you think that was bad, the way they put it out first? Because I was like, you have Fantastic Four coming out in July, which is going to go head to head with Superman. And you're priming the audience for the year with Captain America and then Thunderbolt. Shouldn't it have been the reverse? Like anchor everything with Fantastic Four if it's supposed to be as good as it is, and then release?
No, I think they're building up to the better movies and getting the garbage out of the way. Like this, this movie. I don't want to get into it now because I think we jumped the gun. But
we will definitely get into it. Don't worry.
Yeah. But I think this program gets rebranded. I think Disney, it's one of the companies, Disney and Lucasfilm are lost. Okay. I don't think they're, unless you do an Elon Musk, like what he did to Twitter, now X, or unless they doge Disney and get rid of useless programs, I don't see that happening. They have to lose a lot more money.
I mean, is there like an element of they were under the mistaken belief that this stuff was super popular? Like up until maybe a couple of years ago, like before, say, Elon Musk bought over Twitter, when it was very skewed in one direction, it would create this false impression, like when all this stuff's getting artificially boosted, that, all this DEI stuff, all this super progressive ideology, this is the way we need to be going because this is what people are really shouting about on social media. So we know that it's popular. Now they have a different impression. They have this perhaps slightly more realistic view that no, this isn't actually that popular, and what we've been doing for years is wasting a lot of time and money pushing something that people don't want.
Well, I think we all had a false impression of what the majority of the world is, basically because of U.S. aid funding propaganda, and even when, as far as video games, right? Like we're under the false impression that a lot of people felt this way, and we're the ones like saying, "Hey, I don't know, this doesn't sit right with me. I'm not down with all this change." And it really represents a small fraction, and it was amplified with propaganda and money.
Well, just think about what Chris just said. What did we find out this week? How many media organizations were receiving money from USAID? I mean, you had Sri Lanka got $8.2 million to train journalists to use non-binary gendered language. Politico, again, Gamergate, wrote multiple articles, being funded $8 million a year.
And all that money went exactly to those programs and not in the pockets of people in between. No. I'm 100% sure of that. It didn't fall into other people's pockets. There's no, and by saying that, I mean the opposite. So there you go.
So it's astroturfed. It's all astroturf. That's the reality is none of these programs actually have any support.
Correct.
Well, I guess that's what I was getting at, in that it's all like this top-down imposition of a culture that doesn't really exist. It's like it's almost like people in charge trying to say like this is what average people believe. Honestly, and no one really does, but because everyone sees it constantly and it's bombarding them, it just it almost silences them because they don't want to be that person who stands out and goes against the grain. When you realize everyone kind of agrees with them, they just didn't know it, and that's unavoidable now though, because we know it. Like we see the reactions on social media, we see how the landscape has changed, and I wonder, is that going to have a bearing on how companies like Disney now push this stuff? Will they say it's not profitable, it's not popular, it's not going to make us money, we have got to stop this?
I think it will. I'm waiting for it to come out that Disney's received money from Doge. I mean, they just released this week that Harry and Meghan actually received $13 million from the Silicon Valley Fund, which was fully funded by USAID.
I mean, if anyone needs cash, it's them. Clearly, they're hard up. So.
No.